This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, thank you, Simi. Uh, I'll call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock, and we do have some guests here tonight. So let me say this then. You just heard the words that's being recorded. So just so that we're all clear, um, the meeting is recorded and it will be available online on the Town of Mono website. We're not streaming live. So just so that we have a few guests here tonight and welcome. But just so you know, the meeting is being recorded, and look your best in case somebody else looks at this after the fact. So I'll let you know that.
Like,
Number two on our agenda, emergency exits. If we were in the town hall, I would point them out to you. You're in your homes or offices, so if you have a problem, you know how to get out. Um, for the committee members, conflicts of pecuniary interest, you can declare them now or at any point during the meeting. I'm going to add something here while we're on committee members here, since we have some guests here tonight, which is great. If we were in person, the committee members would be sitting at the front where council sits. So let me just introduce committee members. I'm Bob McCray. I'm the chair of the Committee of Adjustment. Members are Eric Fournier, Corinne Pollard, Dave Carbert, Dave Trotman is our Director of Planning, and Simi is our planning technician. And it's possible at some point here, our other Committee of Adjustment member, Jerry Reed, will join us. But so that lets you know who we're dealing with. For committee members, point 4 on the agenda, approval of the agenda of the meeting. Do I have somebody to move that, please?
I'll move it.
Moved by Corinne and seconded by Dave Carbert. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. And any objections? Seeing none, that has passed. Agenda item number 5, approval of the minutes of our last meeting, which was Committee of Adjustment 10-2023. Are there any questions, comments about the minutes? And if none, can I have somebody move to approve the minutes of that meeting, please?
I'll
Corinne,
move.
thank you. And Dave will put you down as the seconder on that one as well. Any objections to that, committee members? Seeing none, that we're moving along to. For those of you in attendance, residents, uh, point number 6 on our agenda. All of the Committee of Adjustment meetings are public meetings open to the public. And in the style of the town of Mono, we do have a public question period. So, but let me just talk about that quickly. During the 2 applications that we've got here, the public will have an opportunity to in the proper order that I'm going to go through here, to ask questions about those applications or make comments about that. But if you've got any other questions other than ones relating to the applications, public, this is your opportunity now. And seeing none, we're going to move on to the business of tonight's meeting. So we have 2 applications here. This is a Committee of Adjustment public meeting. Our first one I will introduce. Uh, Application is B03-23. The applicant is the Bruce Trail Conservancy. Subject property is 713403 First Line EHS. The official plan designation is Environment Natural Area -1 plus Escarpment Protection Area and Escarpment Rural Area. Mono zoning is NEC Development Control Area, and that's the Town of Mono zoning bylaw 78-1. The purpose, I'll read this as it is on our agenda. for the purpose of recording it. The purpose is consent application to sever the creation of new lots with frontage of 181 meters and lot area of 2.2 hectares, which is 5.43 acres, comprising the house, and to retain the land for the Bruce Trail optimum route and conservation corridor. Retained portion will have a frontage of approximately 100.8 meters and an area of 5.7 hectares. So that is the application or the introduction, the purpose for B03-23. I have my list here. So we have opened the public meeting. I've introduced the application. And at this point in time, I'm going to ask our Director of Planning, David Trotman, to give information and his comments about the application. David, please.
Thanks. Thanks, Chair Bob. Before I begin, I see just about everyone who I think is interested in being at this meeting tonight is here, all members, including people who are not members, including, of course, myself and my assistant, Simi. But I've just seen an email from Antoine Diamond from Bruce Trail saying she can't seem to see or hear anything. So I've given her a bit more information. The link was in the agenda with the access code, so hopefully she'll be able to get online here soon. And I've copied Andrew Dahmer, our web specialist. Sammy, I'm not sure if there's anything you can do at your end. I think we'll just give Antoine Diamond a few moments to get online here. I mean, everyone else seems to have gotten online. I don't know who guest is. I suspect that's Jerry. I'd be curious to know if that is you, Jerry, just to rule out it's not Antoine. Do you hear me, Jerry?
As the chair, then let me ask this. We have somebody here as a guest, and you don't have to identify yourself. It would be if we were in person, you would be in the gallery, and that. But guest, you are not the Committee of Adjustment member Jerry Reed, or not saying anything. No problem. You don't have to. Caller number
Hello.
one is. Oh,
Hello,
That would
caller.
appear
David.
to be Antoine. Hello.
Hi, hello. My apologies, but I've used the GoTo link 4 times now, and I'm still in camera preview. I've got everything loaded up here, but there's no opportunity to put in a code, and I have no idea what else to do to come on to be visually part of the meeting.
Antoine, it's Bob McCray. I'm the chair of the Committee of Adjustment. That's okay. We can hear you, and that will give you an opportunity to speak to the application. I wish I could see you, but that's okay.
Yes, me too. As I said, I've clicked on the link about 3 times, and I'm looking at a camera. I can see myself, I can hear myself, but I'm not in the meeting, and I don't know why. It just says use computer audio.
I think it's your settings, Antoine, where you set it on yourself maybe rather than to view into the meeting. But you know what? I can hear you fine as well. So, I mean, if we can hear you, we can go with that.
Okay.
You might be able to sort out in the meantime.
My apologies for the delay, gentlemen. Yeah.
No problem. And Antoine, you can hear us fine as well.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay.
Hello, Jerry Reed.
Here. Is that Jerry?
Yeah, it is so.
Thank you. Welcome, Jerry.
I had problems getting on. Sorry about that.
No problem, Jerry. So for Jerry, just so you know, you don't have visual. We do have some residents in attendance here tonight. With yourself here now, we have all the members of the Committee of Adjustment, and we have Antoine, representative of the Bruce Trail Conservancy. So you know.
Thank you.
Jerry, I have just introduced the first application, B03-23. And I've just asked Dave Trotman to make his comments about that, so you know. Is that all
Okay.
good, Jerry?
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you. David, now you've got the floor, please.
Thanks, Chair Bob. So,
David, how's the internet in Wasaga Beach today?
well, we've got high-speed broadband, so hopefully it's, all I know is that Rogers keeps charging me more and more, but I don't know if my internet's gotten any faster, but I guess that's an oligopoly for you, so there's not much I can do. But anyway,
So far, so good, David. David, you've got the floor.
thank you. So I'm going to start and preface my presentation with you first by just clarifying an item for folks here, and that is in the Town of Mona official plan under our rural policies, and as rural severance policies are noted there, one of the tests is that a landowner needs to own the land for 5 years. And it's really an anti-speculation test. It was put in there long before I got to Mono. It was really for someone to just not come and buy land and then sever it up and sort of move on. So there's this 5-year test under the rural policies. Now, these two properties that are owned by Bruce Trail, one with the address off First Line, although it's a through lot that goes over to the second line all the way down to Fifth Side Road, and the other one on Seventh Line, they are geographically in the rural portion of Mono. They're not in Purple Hill, by example, but they are under the policies of Section 16 of our official plan, which is Niagara Escarpment policies. So the rural policies directly do not apply to these files. And to cut it short, it means to say that Bruce Trail, as a conservancy, is exempt from that 5-year rule. Just so everyone's aware. It doesn't, anyone else who's a private citizen or a private developer, it would apply in the rural area. So just to make that clear, and I think too in the NEP as well, if there was an attempt to sever lots there as well. Well, in fact, I know that for a fact because we only recently dealt with an application like that. I got a lot on my mind today. So anyway, sorry about that. So the first one is, as I said, a through lot. It's 238 acres thereabouts, and there's a desire by Bruce Trail to sever off the Century House that has a municipal address on the second line, 753334 second line, built in about 1897. And it's obviously, oh, I'm getting a shake of the head there. Wasn't built in 1897. I could have the year wrong, but it's an old house. I stand to be corrected if someone wants to pipe up.
It was built in 1857.
Okay. So I saw a date of 1897. I apologize. Thank you for that correction. Anyway, obviously Bruce Trail is not in the business of dealing with houses on lots that they acquire because portions of the land are suitable for their trail conservancy business plan needs. And so they want to sever this house off and convey it as a separate house on a separate lot. They're proposing to be about almost 23 acres in size, which would take the lot, including the house and some of the ancillary elements, including, I don't know if there's an outshed there or not, I don't believe so, but there's an old well, a dug well, and capturing those elements with the house down to the flankage portion of the property on the fifth line. These documents are itemized on the town's website under active plan applications. The link is in my report, and anyone who would care to see those documents, including my plan report, they're all there. That's the basis of the application. We circulated it, of course, to folks within 60 meters. That's a requirement of the Planning Act. We also circulated to some agencies.
David, before you continue,
Yep.
I'm looking at this here, and I need to correct something, because what was on the agenda, the purpose, is not the purpose for this consent application. What I read out there is the purpose for the second one. So I apologize for this.
Oh, B09. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I read from the agenda, and it is wrong, and I apologize for it. So, for good order's sake, I want to read from the application. I apologize to everybody for this confusion. Uh, so just so that we know that we're talking about the right thing. So this is application B03-23. The purpose. We did have the right subject property here, 713403. But the purpose of this is consent application that, if approved, would create one new lot with a frontage of 126.6 meters and a lot area of 9.19 hectares. That's 22.7 acres, comprising an existing single detached house to be situated at the southeast corner of the subject property. The retained land would be left with a lot area of 87.37 hectares. That's 215.9 acres to augment the Bruce Trail optimum route and conservation corridor. Again, I apologize to everybody. I read the wrong thing. We've now got it right, so we're on the record that we're talking about the right thing. David Mole, I see
Yes,
you will
Mr.
have an
Chair.
opportunity to talk, David, later. Can it wait?
I just wanted to make one more correction. We still don't have it right. The existing house on the severed lot is located at the northeast corner, not the southeast corner.
Okay.
That's correct. That's
So,
correct.
existing, thank you, David. I'm sorry. So existing single detached house to be situated at the northeast corner of the subject property. Thank you. Now I think we've got it right. Thank you, everybody. David, now I apologize for interrupting. David Trotman, apologize for interrupting, but I had to get this right because this is the Committee of Adjustment. We are a quasi judicial body, and we got to get this stuff right. So, David, I'm turning to you now. Hey, Jerry, there you are.
Okay. So 1857 was the year the house was built. I mean, yeah, the property that would be severed if approved is at the northeast quadrant of Side Road 5 and Second Line. So how it may be a bit of a compass related matter here, which depends which way you're looking at things, but it's at the second line frontage of this property that goes over to the first line. It has a first line address, though. But anyway, let's to get more to the report, and but all good details. Thank you very much. So we did circulate, as I said, to folks within 60 meters. And we also circulated to the Conservation Authority, to Mono Public Works. We copied NEC. NEC had already issued a development permit to give Bruce Trail permission to go forward to seek a consent. So not approval as right, but to go forward to the local committee here, which we're here now to deal with this matter. And we did get comments back. We got and the Mono Heritage Committee as well, because of the Century House. The comments are all uploaded through the link that's in my report. Mono Heritage has an interest in conferring with Bruce Trail on the hopeful designation of that house. I reached out to the chair to see if she would be in attendance today. I don't know that she is. I also reached out to our public works director to see if he would be in attendance. But, I had a reread of his comments. To me, they're pretty much straightforward, although I know Anton Diamond has asked a few more questions about the public works comments and who they actually apply to in terms of legalizing the entrances that are there and reconfiguring some of the entrances to a better position towards the roadways. And we can deal with that later. Um, Beyond that, I provided a very fulsome policy analysis of how lots can be created by the Bruce Trail through the Niagara Escarpment policy. And again, as I said, Section 16 applies, and Section 16 ROP aligns with Niagara Escarpment policy, Niagara Escarpment plan policy, that is. And I've alluded to all that in my report. I'm not going to reiterate all of that. If you care to read, there's about 4 or 5 pages worth of it there. There was a request from Bruce Trail only a couple of weeks ago, not too long ago. They found a dug well on the property. The surveyor did, I guess, when they were preparing what would have been a basic draft R plan for the severed portion. And they asked if it could be slightly reconfigured at the north end to capture the dug well. I think that sketch is also uploaded. It's not a huge reconfiguration of the north end of that lot by any measure. I just don't know what status the dug well has, and frankly, if it has any meaningful usefulness with the house, the century-old house there. It could not, and there's a question about if it even meets code today. It may not, I do not know. And so I've cited a condition in there that, well, if need be, the condition is a flexible condition, should the town engineer give some kind of cursory assessment on that fact. We can deliberate that, or committee can deliberate that when they get to their review of this application, including the recommendation, which I'm supporting, but with conditions. Now, the key thing, I think, for me as town planner is the size of the severed lot is larger than what normally would be required for taking a house a house existing on its own conveyable lot. 23 acres is larger than normal in the past, and of course, all applications have their own, intrinsic characteristics about them. But a benchmark is about 5, 6, or 7 acres in that neighborhood. 4 to 7 acres, give or take, is usually enough to capture a house and ancillary built elements that go with it, an out shed, a barn, a garage, or what have you. That may have discussion tonight at committee's meeting, but at the end of the day here, I have cited approval subject to the conditions noted. There's 8 of them. Some of them are really quite standard conditions. Some are more aligned with the application specifically. Beyond that, I'm willing to take comments. The only other matter I would speak to, and again, it probably will get some deliberation tonight, is Bruce Trail questioned about whether cash in lieu of parkland would apply. When a new lot's created, it normally does. A new lot is a form of development one way or another. It may not be a subdivision, but it's still creating a new lot. And so condition 7 speaks to that in my report. And it's residential, so it would be about 5% of the appraised value of the land. What I have done, though, there was some question from Bruce Trail whether it would apply. I've noted in there with a caveat final sentence or phrase rather, that unless it is demonstrated that it doesn't need to apply. I would leave that with Bruce Trail to demonstrate. I don't think it's incumbent on the town to have to demonstrate that. We believe, or I believe anyway, that it applies. It's under the Planning Act. We have a cash in lieu bylaw, 2003-41, which I provided to committee. And so in my view, it would. I did reach out to Mulmer Township, which dealt with Bruce Trail back in July 2021. And if it's of any comparative value, Bruce Trail created a new lot in Mulmer, and parkland dedication applied. So I spoke with the director of planning there, actually the CAO, she's a CAO, and it applied. So it would appear that condition 7 is applicable. But I've left an out for Bruce Trail to say, if you think it doesn't, then you demonstrate. The key word there is demonstrate that it wouldn't. And I've done that the same with the other report, which will follow this one. That's my summary, Chair Bob.
Very good. David, thank you. Antoine, am I pronouncing your name correct first?
It's Anton.
Anton?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Anton, this is the point in our process here where you have an opportunity, the presentation from the applicant or comments or things that you would like to speak to your application, please.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name's Anton Diamond. I'm with the Bruce Trail Conservancy. I've been before your town many times for these types of projects. But acquiring a house is unusual for the BTC. It's not our preferred way of conserving lands and the Bruce Trail corridor. But occasionally we have no choice, and in this instance, it was to do with this particular application, the Scouts Canada property. It's a beautiful property. We are conserving, as David said, more than 200 acres and whole stretch of Bruce Trail Optimum Route, and we really hope that you are enjoying it. It is open now for that purpose. As many of you know, the Bruce Trail is 900 kilometers long. We're about just over 70% secure. Every time we acquire a property, we do huge fundraising. We need all kinds of support to do this good work. And in the past, as I said, the town of Mono have supported our projects and conservation severances, which is typically how these applications come to you. Somebody will already be living on the property, and they will be generous enough to let us, and supportive enough rather to let us acquire just the portion that we need, just the conservation land, which is ideally how these things go. And they're approved without issue. The Niagara Escarpment Plan don't consider actually these as new lots. They don't stand against the property. They're conservation severances to create non-developable parcel for the Bruce Trail corridor. So I'm looking at, I'll address the condition 7, which is payment of parkland levy to the town. So the Bruce Trail Conservancy isn't creating a new building lot here. The building lot already exists. All what we're doing is we're just reducing its size. And we're trying to conserve as much of the land as possible. And I will address the building lot size and why we came up with that size and configuration in a second. But in essence, the BTC is creating parkland here. Therefore, the outcome of these applications is equivalent to a conveyance of parkland under Section 51 of the Planning Act. There's a benefit to the municipality in creating parkland this way because it doesn't cost you anything. Typically, a municipality would have to go out and buy the land and then pay for its maintenance over time, insure it, and make sure that it's in good order. And you would be responsible for that parkland. And this way, you're not on the hook for it. BTC has acquired the land. BTC permits access to all your constituents, visitors to the area. And so, in effect, the same thing is being done here. So no cost to you. And because the application achieves the purposes of Section 51 of the Planning Act, it would be inconsistent, in my mind anyway, and in the minds of all the other municipalities who don't apply this fee. It would be inconsistent with the spirit of the provision of this particular part of the Planning Act. Essentially, it would actually be discouraging if this type of a fee was applied to these types of applications. But I leave it to you. In the case of MoMA, it was found to be inconsistent and inappropriate, and MoMA Township reimbursed the BTC of that levy, which was $5,000. So it was reimbursed to us after consideration, a reconsideration. As far as the parcel size goes, when you look around rural areas, there are lots of rural estate properties, and so we really felt it was important that we be consistent with that look. The house is in need of a lot of work, and we want to sell it as is, just to recoup the funds, some of the funds, not all of the funds, but to recoup some of the funds for conserving these lands. And the only way that we could think of making it more attractive, have a larger market appeal, would be to give it some property. Generally, people, when they move out to the country, they want to have some country land attached to the house. So while 5 acres would be sufficient, I'm just not sure when you look around that area that it would have an appeal to somebody who, A, is going to buy the house and will invest in the house to bring it back to its former glory. You can see it's got some attributes to it that I think are worthy of preserving. I can't think of what else to say about the sizing of it, except, as I said, it's the land around it is more appealing right now than the house itself. What else can I say about, there is another condition. There's about the driveway, and I'm not sure if I wasn't online, and I apologize for all these difficulties of connecting, but I wasn't sure if Public Works have spoken to the driveway yet. But as it stands, it seems to read that BTC will be having to correct or bring the driveway into compliance. So maybe I can get clarification on that before I speak to it. Could I have that?
David Trotman? You're the one who's
Okay,
gonna
yeah,
speak.
I did, as I said, I did reach out to Matt Donor. I don't know that he's able to be online tonight. Matt, if you're here, I'm sure you can speak to your own conditions better than me, but in absence of his attendance, which I doubt he is online, I only asked him earlier this afternoon. The condition I wrote is, it says, owner understands agree in writing to fulfill all conditions of the Director of Public Works as cited in his comments. I dated the comments. Those are the ones uploaded to the webpage, as well as any other signed conditions as otherwise required at the sole discretion of him, that Director of Public Works, all of which shall be at the cost of the owner. He's a reasonable man, and he wants things done, partial reconfigurations, or what I would call modest or minor reconfigurations of the threshold portions of a drive or driveways to the second line. He needs road widenings. Well, that's standard anyway. And he wants these driveways to undergo their entrance permit process to essentially legalize them and get them registered, right? Which is part of what Public Works does. This is a bit of a catch-up game at times for those sort of things, but those are all typical standard things to do. I would guess that if Bruce Trail doesn't do it directly as part of an approved consent, that Public Works, Mono Public Works, would want to make sure it's captured for the new owner and not come as a surprise to the new owner. I think the easiest way to do that would be to have Bruce Trail's agreement that those matters are cited in any offer of sale and purchase, so that anyone who is serious of buying this lot will see that these things are needed to be done sooner than later to comply with Public Works requirements. That may be the easiest way to handle it if Bruce Trail doesn't, but that would require written commitment on Bruce Trail to do so, and that in fact they did end up as matters or items in an offer of sale and purchase, so that the new owner, would know and understand, okay, I've got to do some driveway related things here for the local Mono Public Works Department.
We have a temporary permit right now, and it lasts for 1 year, and there's provision to extend it. So would that buyer have the same kind of leeway if they weren't prepared to take on the job immediately? Like, would there be some kind of provision that would allow them some time?
I can't speak for Mr. Donor, but I think that's reasonable. I mean, he wouldn't be there with his staff, a month or a week after the poor person moves in to say, where's the road works or driveway works done? He just wants to make sure that ultimately they get done, and sooner than later. So I would have to guess that the extension of the temporary permits would be acceptable.
Okay. Could I ask if Dave Moore could weigh in, if Dave has any thoughts about this?
Well, Anton, I'm going to give public, unless Dave is an official representative of Bruce Trail, there is an opportunity after the committee members ask questions for public to make their comments.
Thank
So
you. Okay.
we will have an opportunity, yes.
Thank you. I just have one more a comment about condition 4. We are trying. We were wanting to sell the house as is. This, doing doing any repairs and anything else on top of it is really out of our scope. The house is in dire straits, actually. And it could be that the new owner would want to gut it out. So I'm just wondering if we could add something to the effect of if required. It does say that, as if required by the town engineer, including. So there's a lot of things here that I'm just wondering if we need to demonstrate compliance with, or if we can sell the houses with the understanding that there's a lot of things that will need to be complied to.
David Trotman? David,
So,
unmute. Thank you.
yeah, so it's a fair question. And I put that condition in just with some circumspect consideration that given this dug well, I have no idea what condition it's in, or the quality of the water. I'm really here to protect Modo's interest on that condition. Really what it means is that condition will allow me to confer with our town engineer. They can do a fairly quick field visit to the site, give me back some assessment as to whether that well needs to be sealed up and certainly not used at all. Liability issue for anyone who buys that property and unwittingly starts using it, for example. And therefore, whether a new well is needed, well, that would be triggered through a building permit process anyway. But just some a cursory review to make sure that when this sale goes through, the town has had an opportunity in terms of servicing to be satisfied that all is well, and the town doesn't have a liability interest through this application process where a lot is created, a new owner comes in, drinks from the well water, and next thing you know, we have lawsuits because the town approved this sort of thing. So it's a cautionary condition. I don't see it as being unreasonable. And the key phrase there is as if required. It would require a brief site visit, a site assessment from our engineer. And if there was nothing untoward, then that's probably the brief report I would get back. So that's the way I see this condition, Chair Bob.
So if we had sold this whole property with the house, then there would be no need for this provision, correct? It would just be a house sold as is on the open market, and the buyer would just be aware that there was a whole ton of work required in order to make the house livable, habitable. And any major works, they would have to go, of course, through the town for normal permitting processes and sign-offs by town engineer and electrical engineers and everything else. So again, I'm just trying to understand what it's onerous on us. And you will find issues, you will. This is a turn of the century house. It's deteriorated beyond its economic value. Like if you go in, there's holes in the ceiling. It's in dire straits. So you will find things wrong. And so I wonder then, are the owners then going to be on us in renovating this house? And is that outside of our? Is that appropriate? It's out of our scope. We're a conservation organization just trying to turn a house back out into the marketplace for someone to invest in and live in. That's not our area of expertise. an existing house that has deteriorated over time.
Dave
We
Trotman,
would,
please.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, so with some applications, we do often put that condition in to have servicing review where there may be issues that have arisen and for which we don't have really definitive answers on status of those services. I can't disagree that if we didn't know about them, a lot could be created and, new owner would have to do what is ever necessary under building code to provide those proper services and conform to code requirements. So it's a cautionary condition. I mean, again, I think if maybe the better way to handle it then, or the easier way to handle it, but then again, that Bruce Trail agrees as part of any sale and purchase to identify that as an item in an offer of purchase, so that the owner knows up front there could be issues with the well, to the point of maybe even don't use it. It's not usable. I don't know if it is or not, and at least sidestep any potential liability for the town. That's really was the purpose of that condition.
we do have a
In
house
fact, I don't know
inspection.
what status the septic system is either, but again, that's sort of a related matter.
We do have a house inspection, and it highlights all of these deficiencies. But happy to oblige. But if we can have the condition worded in such a manner as that the Committee of Adjustment can deem it relevant or not, to have it so it's not prescriptive. So maybe add.
That's a question
add
for
at
the
the end,
committee, and I would
if
leave that
apply.
to committee to answer or consider.
Let me
Certainly,
offer, Dave, let me offer this suggestion. As the normal part of the process of selling a house, the seller has to declare to the buyers everything about the house, deficiencies in that. That's a normal part of real estate process. As this century-old house, I'm joking, have urea formaldehyde foam insulation in it. I'm joking, but this is something that a seller has to declare up front. That would be part of the process, in my opinion, when Bruce Trail sells this house and property. Is that not correct, Dave?
Point noted, point taken. The caveat here is we're dealing with an application under the Planning Act before committee under Monos committee. So that's my only cautionary. If Bruce Trail will give full disclosure as part of any meaningful offer, sale, and purchase, then I can probably live with that for sure.
Anton, does that work for you?
Absolutely, yeah. We would do that anyway, absolutely. So if you can maybe put, if required, at the end of that sentence, at the end of that condition, then it will give you that latitude.
Okay, so we're about, if we're all done with this, we're about to have committee members asking questions and make comments and the like. So Dave Trotman, please note that. And when we get through with all of this discussion, then we can change some of these conditions if necessary. So, Anton, are you done then, please?
I am, thank you.
Thank you for that. At this point in time in our process, we now ask the members of the committee to ask questions, make comments about this. So I will first call on Eric Fournier. Questions and comments, please, Eric.
Thanks, Bob. A couple of things. Just briefly, Anton, before we get into it, your letter of July 6th references the lot disposal or disposal of land provisions in the Niagara Escarpment Plan. Dave Carbert refers to 3.4 of the Niagara Escarpment Plan, which contemplates disposal of surplus lands. Do you agree with Dave on that, that's the applicable provision in the Niagara Escarpment Plan?
That's correct. We can acquire or dispose of conservation of lands, yes. deemed surplus, dispose of lands deemed surplus.
All right. In your January 18th letter, you talk about a boundary adjustment. This is because of the discovery of the dug well. But in the drawing that's attached to that letter, I really couldn't find that dug well was brought in. I couldn't really see any difference in that northern boundary. I just don't understand what drawing you're asking this committee to approve.
It's a very slight adjustment to the northern boundary. I would overlay it for you. It's so slight that I thought that it could be within the purview of you approving it as adjusted. It's so minor that you can barely even tell. But the surveyors found the well, and we're not sure if it's actually even relevant to the house. But we thought if you could approve tonight just a very small realignment of that north boundary, it doesn't actually make any difference to the acreage size, simply because of the takings for road widening. That's the primary reason why it's not made any difference to the size. It's essentially increased the size of the survey of the severed lot for the house, but the road widenings have decreased it, right? So that's why we've been able to hold the actual parcel size. But the line itself is such a small, it's such a small deviation that it's barely perceptible on the page. But yeah.
Is that deviation shown on the drawing that's attached to your January 18th letter?
I didn't show the actual deviation. I just redrew the line, and it captures now the well, but it's so small that you can barely see it.
I couldn't see it.
Right.
My concern is, as a committee, we need to prove something that's before us, and we don't have a drawing that shows that lot adjustment. I don't know what we can approve if we don't have a drawing before us.
The original application showed the original drawing, and the sketch that I provided you with my letter to make this small adjustment shows the drawing today. And if you can compare the two, you will notice it's barely perceptible, but it is a change. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
All right. So, but if we approve then the drawing that's attached to your January 18th, 2024 letter, that would capture the change?
Yes.
All right. I could not see that on that, but
I know it's that small.
All right. This is maybe more of a comment than anything, but I agree with your analysis of the 23-acre parcel size. I think that fits better in the Mono community. I mean, I think the larger lot is better in keeping, but that's more a comment than a question.
Thank you.
But on the 5% levy, I'm not quite sure what you're saying. I understand your position is that because it is a dedication of parkland, the bylaw shouldn't apply. The bylaw, though, it doesn't really contemplate that, and to a certain extent, we as a committee are bound by the bylaw. This is not a minor variance application. This is a severance application, and I'm not sure what authority we have as a committee to give you a waiver of that bylaw. Is there anything else we can do as a committee of adjustments here without a minor variance application in front of us?
It's
David
the
Brockman?
spirit. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Anton.
Well, I mean, Antoine had indicated in Mulmer the council had reimbursed the Cashmere Parkland, and maybe that's the best to pay in protest. And if the good council in Mono, with demonstrated proof from it BTC that it should not be paid for legislation, then council can make that follow-up separate decision. I think that's the best way to approach it. There is a creation of a lot. albeit with a house on it from the 1857s, I might add. So they certainly didn't pay cash in lieu of then. So I think that's probably the best way to handle it. And that's basically what condition 7 says. Pay
Yeah,
the cash in lieu of parkland and
I'm
pay
sympathetic
the
to
cash
the
in lieu of parkland.
argument.
But if you can demonstrate that it's wrong, then you can pursue that through council.
Yeah, I'm
Eric?
sympathetic to the argument that it is a dedication of parkland because it's the Bruce Trail. It's just I'm not sure how we as a committee can deal with it. And we have to deal with this today or tonight unless we defer somehow. But well, maybe we as a committee can debate that. But I'm sympathetic to the request. I'm just not sure what authority we have to do it.
There's nothing on our cash in lieu of parkland bylaw that would give you guidance. So
Yeah, and again, this is a severance application, not a variance application.
That's right.
But anyway, I'm going to leave that for now. I don't know. We'll have to consider that. But I have one more point here. Let me just what I'm going to ask. If we take condition number 4, I've just got that on my screen now, and add at the end of that condition the language at the sole cost of the owners, and then just add the language and that this condition be disclosed to any potential purchaser. Would that work for you or for the Bruce Trail Conservancy? Because I think I accept your background that you're not in the real estate business. Well, not quite in the real estate business, but not in the housing business. So if we put that as a condition that it has to be, if we put right into the condition the language that it must be, the condition itself that we are considering must be disclosed to a potential purchaser, would that work?
Anton?
Sure, if that satisfies you. As it's already been, as Chair McRae said, it's generally a condition of sale. So if you think it's
simplified even more.
I'm sorry?
To your point, Eric, if we change condition number 4 to owner agrees in writing to give full disclosure regarding the well, the septic system, and any other matters identified by Bruce Trail's house property inspection report to put in it any and all offers of sale and purchase. So the house and property inspection report will identify the good, the bad, and the ugly, to put it in a phrase, and that will be disclosed as part of any offer of sale and purchase.
I don't agree that that's our responsibility. That's a seller responsibility.
That's right. Yeah.
As a committee, it's not
Well,
up to
it's a
us.
seller's responsibility, but I want to ensure that it is followed through. And I'm not suggesting it won't be, but if it's in as a condition, they have to. And if they don't, and there's a problem, we've got that condition to hang on to and say, well, Bruce Trail should have given full disclosure through the house and property inspection report.
I don't think we as a committee want to get into governing how they sell the house. What we're saying here, if this condition is reasonable, and it's a standard condition, as a committee, what Anton is saying is they don't want to do the work themselves, fair enough, but we as a committee want to make sure that that gets attached to the land and carries with it. So that condition has to be disclosed because that condition has to continue to whoever purchases the property. I don't want to get into anything broader than that.
Okay, committee, these are things for discussion after a good point.
Fair enough.
Let's discuss that after all the committee members have asked questions. Our guests have made points and asked questions, and then the committee will be doing the debate that we're having right now.
All right, I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Corinne?
Sure,
You're
thank
up.
you. Anton, not to harp on the boundary adjustment that was made to encompass the dug well, but my question is, in addition to what Eric had mentioned, have you sought further consent from the NEC to allow you, because I know the NEC, once they've made an approval on the lands that you've opted to sever, they thereafter will not allow a change unless they've reapproved that change. So my question is, have you sought consent from the NEC to move that boundary line?
Consent isn't required from the NEC. The consenting authority is you. The NEC just require that they're a commenting agency in this instance. They're just concerned whether the conservation severance or the severance adheres to and doesn't contravene their policies, but they're actually not an approval body in this instance. The house is already there. That's the only, under that circumstance would they weigh in and as an approval body is if the land was vacant, and then we would have to go forward with a development permit application. But in this instance, you're the approval body, not them.
Okay. Did you have to get consent initially from the NEC?
No, they're a commenting agency. They provided comments, and they have no issue with the severance.
Okay, I would just ask that based on that their comments are weighed in with regards to any changes of the lands that they've requested or that they've looked at as they sit, so that there is no issue with any of the comments that they are required to give with any changes, regardless of how small they may be. That would be my first comment. And my second comment, are you anticipating, because I did not see anything, and it's usually normal for Mono to put in a tree planting condition. Now I understand obviously what you do, and I'm not sure if you would look to put additional trees to segregate potentially that severed property from the parkland, because I do note that the trail does come fairly close to that lot. So as I said, I certainly understand what you do, but just not sure if you're going to look to put some type of native tree planting in addition to what's already there to give more segregation to the two properties.
We have a very comprehensive large stewardship program that I think we put in, gosh, I can't recall how many tens of thousands of trees last year. But we also have a very strong landowner relations program. And if there's an issue at all with privacy, then we will absolutely will put trees in. We don't need that as a condition. We just do that as part of our normal business, actually.
Right. No, perfect. I was just curious. I know it's not a condition.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure if you were looking to, I guess, put some more strengthening between the trail and potentially the privacy of the new owner of that property, because there is a little bit of, obvious dip down of the trail close to the property line. So I just wasn't sure if that was an intent was to continue on with the planting of trees, etc. I'm also a little perplexed, as Eric is, with regards to the 5% levy, and I did like his word. I'm sympathetic to obviously the plight of the Bruce Trail Conservancy, but I'm not sure. Actually, this is a first for me as well to hear about not applying that 5%. So I guess I will also defer to our discussion later on, and that is pretty much all of the questions that I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Corinne. Dave Carbert, please.
Okay, I just had one question. Since you had surveyors actually going through the property, discovered the well, would they have not readjusted and given you a formal survey of the new lands?
Yeah, and you'll be getting that draft. That's exactly what they'll do. Yeah.
Yeah, I would
They,
suggest then that becomes part of the application. So we
it's a
have a legal
condition.
description.
Yeah. It's a condition typically of a consent, is to provide you with a reference plan, and that's almost completed.
Okay, well,
Dave
that was my
Carberry,
real
anything else?
number one question. Other than that, I would defer off the 5% to Mono Council, since we can't actually make a decision on something like that. It's a bylaw. This is a severance application. It's not a variance. So we can discuss it further, but that's my only other comment right now. Everything else is pretty straightforward.
Very good. Thank you, Dave. Jerry Reed, please.
Yeah. Do we know if that well is was part of the at one time when it was being used? And I guess
Say
I say
again,
that because
Jerry. Jerry, you
the
broke up
well,
again, please.
yeah, the well that we're talking about, is it part of? Has it been part of the house when the house was there, or is it just an old abandoned well? And I say that because really the vendor is responsible for decommissioning those wells if it's just a dug well that's on the property. So I guess I kind of wonder about that. We're chasing boundaries around it, but I really wonder if it shouldn't be decommissioned, and that's really up to the owner at this point in time.
Well, in all honesty, when we acquired the Scouts property, there's about 5 wells on the property that need to be decommissioned. They're all safe, they're capped, but they need to be formally decommissioned. So this is just one more well. We just thought at the last minute we might just try and just, inch that boundary line up and tuck it in with the house in the event that it is servicing the house. We don't know much about it. That's all I can say. And yes, you're absolutely right. If it needs to be decommissioned, then it will be by the owner of the house.
But I'm really concerned that the Conservation Authority would sign off on that and not have it decommissioned if they in fact knew about it, because there's government programs to decommission them, and they're certainly trying to get everybody to decommission wells as we go. So I'm surprised that wasn't. If they knew about it when they were commenting on your severance, I'm surprised that it wasn't addressed at that point in time. Anyway, that's one question I have. Okay, the other comment I have is the size of the lot, and I think it makes sense where it is too. But I certainly have a somewhat of a concern about it because I live on a road not far from there, and we've got 22-acre lots up and down this road that were taken out in the 60s and 70s, and nobody even sees the back of them, and it's wasteland. And I have a big problem with that as an agricultural producer. So anyway, that comes from my point of view. It's not from anybody else's. I agree with Eric that it's a nice to have 22 acres and say that I own 22 acres, but it's also nice to not see goldenrod and stuff grow up between the trees on it. So that's a comment that I have. And the other comment that I have is that is about the driveway, and David, I think, pretty well addressed that to bring it up to standard one thing or another. Again, it's the owner's responsibility, and I guess as long as the new purchaser knows about that, that's okay. But it's one more piece of red tape that should be dealt with the present owners, as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, those are my concerns. But the well is the biggest one. I really have a concern about that well just being there, especially since it's a dug well. Anyway, that's all I have, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. My turn. I have nothing additional to add to all the comments that the members have made at this point in time. We'll get into some of the specifics if we've got to change some of these conditions after the next part of our process, which is questions and comments from the public. So anybody in the public, if you can raise your hand and sorry, the names went away here, so I can't call you by name, but yes, sir.
It's Barry McDonald speaking.
Thank you,
Just
Barry.
thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's been a fantastic meeting. I live directly across the street from the second line property. Only reason, one concern I have right now that hasn't been brought up in the due diligence is there are 2 fuel tanks by the silo on the property that have fuel in them. And they've had fuel in them for at least 5 or 6 years. And the rubber seals are rotten. And I'm concerned about that fuel leaking. And they happen to be directly uphill to the wells you're talking about. So I would appreciate if that was at least identified. It's been there. They've been there for 5, 6, maybe 10 years since they've been filled up, but they do have fuel in them. And I've asked scouts to actually get them removed, and that hasn't happened. As long as that's in the notes, that's great. That someone, whether the town or the current owner or the future owner, has that in their due diligence to have those removed. I appreciate that.
Okay,
That's all.
thank you. Barry, for good order's sake, and we've gotten out of this habit, you've said your name. Could you please give us your address, please, for the record?
Sure, 753333, second line, EHS.
Thank you, Barry.
Okay.
Yeah, it is normal, as we would if we were in a public meeting in the town hall, to identify your name and where you live. Why do we want to know where you live? Because we don't want somebody from some other municipality making comments about this or whatever. So at any rate, that is the way we do things. Anybody else, any of the other residents, guests here who want to speak to this?
Quick comment, Chair Bob, if I may.
Yes, Dave.
To Barry's point then, that reiterates condition number 7.
Explain that, please.
Excuse me, condition number 4, sorry. Condition number 4.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Other members of the public, please, comments, questions? Okay. Seeing none. With that, then, we now close the public meeting part of that. Don't misunderstand what I just said. Don't go away. Now it's time for the committee to discuss all of this and come up with a decision on it. So again, don't go away. So committee, where do we start?
What we should maybe do is just review these conditions one at a time. Again, I think good points have been made about variations to these conditions. But starting with the easiest one, which is the 5% levy. Again, I don't, I mean, our obligation as committee members is to observe the bylaws. That's the bylaw. There's got to be some mechanism for Bruce Trail to seek relief from that, but it's not something that we have authority to do tonight. So I would leave that condition in as it stands.
Other committee members, comments, please?
Hey, Bob.
I agree.
Dave Carver here. Can we just go through Dave's conditions 1 through 8, and let's just go through them one by one and deal with them in order?
That's not a problem if everybody else is okay with
Just to
that.
keep it simple.
Okay. Good point. Okay, so if every other committee members are okay with this, I'll start with number 1. Okay, seeing no objections. 1, payment in full up front for any outstanding municipal taxes, fees, or charges. Standard stuff. Dave Trotman, I hope you're online and ready to speak to some of these if there's questions. Any comments, committee members, about condition number 1?
Nope.
Seeing none. Number 2, standard conditions of consent, including 3 copies of each deed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Plan of survey from OLS for approval by the town. Committee members, any questions, comments about that condition?
So this addresses the updated survey that's going to be deposited, correct?
Dave Trotman?
Correct. Yep, correct. Because we get it as a draft, and we'll see that draft before we would issue any final certificate of deed.
Good by me.
Committee members, are we comfortable that will include the updated survey?
Good.
Seeing no comments. Number 3, owners understand and agree in writing to fulfill all requirements of the Director of Public Works as cited in his comments, as well as any other assigned conditions as otherwise required at the sole discretion of the Director of Public Works, all of which shall be at the sole cost of the owner. Committee members, comments?
Existing owner or new owners?
Existing.
New owners.
Then the wording has to be changed, but I don't know if we can stipulate that for new owners versus the people we're dealing with on the application.
Well, I think we can.
What's your opinion, Eric?
Yeah, I think we can, but I think we got to be careful with how we word it. And again, I agree we don't want to add new conditions. What the request, as I understand it from the Conservancy, is that we frame these really 3 and 4 as conditions that can allow them to sell it, and the conditions get carried forward to the new owner. I don't have a problem in theory with that, but I think we have to be careful about how we word it, and I'm wondering if we should not reserve the decision tonight just so that we can circulate a couple of drafts and everybody get happy with the wording. And only for that purpose. It'll only take a couple of days.
Yeah, we could spend a lot of time here tonight with that. So what Eric
And it
has
might
just,
be a rushed decision that we later regret. But if we're going to start changing the wording, we just want to be careful that we get it accurately.
Mhm. And I think at
Maureen?
the end of the day, it's a standard condition where you need to keep the owner responsible for the property. If the owner decides to assign away their rights and or obligations vis-a-vis a real estate transaction, et cetera, that's still on the owner. So I think that this condition still remain the owner's responsibility. We not change this as it's a standard condition, and then it's on the owner to, as I said, reassign their their obligations onto their new purchaser of that property. That's just my 2 cents.
And involve the Director of Public Works, who is an amenable person. He just wants to ensure it gets done. If it's by the new owner, that it's properly captured. It's not forgotten, overlooked, or set aside.
I'll second that for 4 cents.
Eric?
I'm comfortable with that too. I think Corinne's right that there's enough flexibility in those 2 that it can be treated as a condition of a subsequent sale without any changes.
And I agree completely with that as well. So are we saying that we're leaving 3 and 4 as they are written here now?
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct?
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, number 5, owners agree to address and fulfill any conditions as specified by the NVCA, if required by the NVCA, including any conditional permits as prescribed by the NVCA. Committee members, any comments, questions? No problem? Agreed. 6, owners agree to address and or fulfill any conditions that may be requested from the Mono Heritage Committee. Also pretty straightforward. Committee members,
Agree.
Yeah,
agreed?
let's
Yeah.
agree.
Thank you.
Yep.
7, the parkland levy, and Eric, you started with this, and I agree. We can't waive it, but Mono Council can, and if so, it is
Then
in
I,
there. It is in there for the Bruce Trail to demonstrate it does not apply. So it's on Bruce Trail to talk to Mono Council. Does that make sense to everybody?
Agree.
Yes.
yeah,
Okay. And on Anton, uh, you know, Mono Council aren't unreasonable. So if Mulmer refunded your money back and that, so, but it's up to you. So I don't think you'll have a problem with that, but that's my opinion. 8, any subsequent conveyance involving the retained lot or severed lot shall be subject to the section 53 of the Planning Act as it may apply. Committee members, any questions, comments?
that term is
Agreed.
required by the Planning Act.
Okay.
Mhm.
Committee members, any other conditions, comments on what? Right now, we've gone through everything and said, leave it as it is.
I'm
Correct?
comfortable with that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Then,
I am too.
sorry?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm comfortable
So,
approving it as is.
okay, is that a motion? Dave Carbert?
I'll make that a motion.
Okay, seconder?
I'll
Seconder,
second that.
please. Corinne, any objections to that? Being none. So this application is approved, subject to these conditions. Anton, I'm sympathetic with you. And you said you're not really in the business of buying properties with houses on them. So we probably all learned a little, and I know that doesn't make you feel happier, but I don't, we have approved your application, subject to
Thank you.
these. You just need to work through those details. Okay. Okay. Thank you, everybody. That finishes that one. Let's move on. And just to prove that at my age I can learn, instead of reading from the agenda, I'm going to read this. Moving on to our next application, which is B09-23. And I'm going to read the purpose when I get to it from the actual notice here. So the applicants, Bruce Trail Conservancy, care of, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this, is it Joel Swagerman?
That's correct.
Thank you. Thanks, Anton. Bruce, agent is the Bruce Trail Conservancy. This subject property is 953096, 7th line EHS. The official plan designation is Escarpment Protection Area. The zoning is NEC Development Control Area, and that's the current Mono zoning bylaw 78-1. So, and I will get this correct this time. If any of you think you've heard this before, you have. And I'm going to read it again into the official record. The purpose, consent application to sever the creation of new lots with frontage of 181 meters. That's 593.83 feet and a lot area of 2.2 hectares. And that's 5.43 acres, comprising the house and to retain land for the Bruce Trail optimum route and conservation corridor. The retained portion will have a frontage of approximately 100.8 meters, that's 330.7 feet, and an area of 5.9 hectares, which is 14.57 acres. That is the actual purpose of BO9-23. if I get my notes here, I can keep myself on track with this. So that we opened the public meeting, I've introduced the application. Dave Trotman, this is your time, please. Dave Trotman, thank you.
Thanks, Chair Bob. So again, this is the second application by Bruce Trail, file B0923. This came in more recently, as I cited in my report for B23. We kind of held in a holding pattern until this one came along to deal with them both at the same time. Here we are. This one is, in my view, a little bit more straightforward, although of similar nature. Bruce Trail has acquired these lands as part of their Upland Quarter route. They aren't in the business of being landlords and want to sever off the house. The house would be on about a 5.4 acre lot. So much smaller than the one for B03 of almost 23 acres. However, that being said, we took the application and we circulated to notice for residents within 60 meters. Signboards also were put on both properties, by the way. I didn't mention that in the previous report, but that's all uploaded on the web pages. And we also circulated to agencies. Same comments from NEC that they gave Bruce Trail permission to go forward to seek this application. Here we are. Mono Public Works also provided comments, really that the owner must fill out a conditional entrance permit application. So again, to identify the driveway and also ask for road widening. Those comments are uploaded to that same web page as cited in the link in my report. We didn't get comments at the time of writing from TRC, but we have them now. They're uploaded. They gave a fairly good review from their perspective as the Conservation Authority. At the end of the day, though, they have no objection to this as well. Again, I cited fulsome policy framework that applies to applications such as this by Bruce Trail under the Niagara Escarpment Plan, and culminating in a recommendation of approval with some of the same conditions of the previous one, not all the same though, of course. There's only 6 there, but number 5, of course, deals with parkland, cash in lieu of parkland. There isn't, I don't think here, a need for town engineer oversight. This is not such an old house, and the services are all, I think, have been vetted through Ontario Building Code permits at some point or another. That's all I have to say with this application.
Okay, very good. Thank you, David. Members, I had a list here. Why don't we, Eric, can we start with you again, please?
Yeah, again, here, all the issues that are substantive that we've already dealt with, I think, with the prior application. So I just really have one comment, and that is that this letter, in contrast to this is the November 22 letter, it includes an argument as to why the 5-year rule under the Town of Mono official plan does not apply. My only comment is that is very specious logic, and I would have rejected it out of hand, except for the fact that the rural designation doesn't apply to this property. But I just didn't want the record to have any confusion that this committee thought that argument was valid. But otherwise, I have no problem with this on the same basis as the other one.
Okay. Anton, did I miss a step here? You've talked to this, you've said everything, or not? I'm sorry.
I haven't spoken to this yet.
I apologize. I'm not following my list here.
That's okay. But you're right, we've dealt with the 5% and we will approach council for a waiver of that. As far as the parcel holding, it's a similar thing to the Scouts property. We wouldn't want to carry this house for 5 years. We're not landlords. It would be a disservice to the township to keep this house for 5 years. It would be a disservice to the BTC as well. So yes, I'm glad that that's not in here. But otherwise, the conditions, I guess, are just what they are. And thank you for considering it.
Thank you, Anton. Don't misinterpret my omission here of trying to speed up this meeting. So thank you for your comments. Eric,
Yeah,
you've
okay.
spoken to this. Thank you for your comments. Anything else, Eric?
No, nothing else.
Okay. Other than giving the chair heck for not following his list. So, Corinne, please.
I have no issues whatsoever with this application. We've dealt with the primary issues and I would support this application.
Thank you, Corinne. Dave Carbert, please.
I support the application based on, we've already commented on everything that's also pertinent to this one.
Okay. Thank you. Jerry Reed, please.
Yeah, no, I don't have any comments. The only comment I do have is that the Google map on the very front page is showing the wrong address on it. It's showing it as 933-096, the first line, and it's really the 7th line.
Okay. I'm not sure where that is, but we'll correct that, or somebody will. Okay, Jerry, anything else, please?
No, I don't have anything else. It's straightforward. I appreciate what they're trying to do.
Okay, and I'm last, Bob McRae, and I agree with all the other committee members, and I'm happy to support this. Now I will not forget questions and comments from the public. David?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I had one question.
David, name and address, please, for the
Okay,
record.
David Wall, 933445 Airport Road, Mono. I had a question regarding the conditions suggested by the Public Works Department with respect to the entrance. If I read that correctly, it said we needed to apply for permission or for some kind of a conditional entrance to the retained portion of the land. We don't want an entrance to the retained portion. We don't need one.
Okay.
The severed portion with the house on it already has an entrance, and the part that the Bruce Trail Conservancy intends to retain doesn't need an entrance.
Okay, so, but this is not Dave Trotman. I need you back online here, please. What David Mole just said, this is not one of your conditions here, your 6 conditions, correct?
It's identified as in condition 3, but the comments from Public Works are uploaded and were dated January the 8th. But I mean, again, this overall condition that I've included, if there's an oversight on the part of our Director of Public Works with respect to Bruce Trail not wanting an entrance onto the retained lot, I mean, he's a reasonable person. He's gonna, take that under consideration, and he'll accept that as part of what he cited. I suspect he's probably written sort of more of a template response there that's uploaded, and I'm reading it. He said first of all, he says should a safe entrance location exist to the retained, a roadway we require. So I think what he's saying here, he's not sure if an entrance is required for the retained person. I guess if the answer is no, then I'm sure he's going to be okay with that. There's no existing retained entrance to the retained portion, as I understand it. There's the only entrance associated with the house on which the proposed severed lot is to be considered for approval. to satisfy that condition, if Bruce Trail simply notes to him, look, we don't need or want an entrance off the retained portion, I have no doubt he'll be fine with that. He still wants his road widening though, off both portions. And he wants the existing entrance that would be part and parcel of the severed property to undergo their entrance review permit process. But I think if I've got that correct, again, the condition, and then I provide a more overall broad language to those prescriptive technical comments that I get from Mono Public Works from one application to the other. I'm happy that the condition as it stands is not going to put any onus on Bruce Trail to put an entrance in the retained parcel if they don't want one.
Let's be pretty clear about this. The town of Mono is not going to force the Bruce Trail Conservancy to put a road access into a property that they don't want a road access in. And condition 3 here doesn't force them to put a road access in, correct?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if there's no built form there that needs access for emergency services, then, and they're not farming it, I don't see why Mr. Donner would want them to put an entrance in.
Okay, so we've got another situation where the Bruce Trail is just going to be talking with the Mono Public Works and sorting this out, just something that everybody can live with. David Mole, does that help you?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't mean to sound trite or trivial about that, but no, Mono's not going to force you to do that. So, but thank you. It's a good point. Anybody else? Public questions, comments? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public meeting now. As we did before, discussion amongst the Committee of Adjustment members about this application. Committee members, any comments, please?
No
I
changes,
support the,
I would suggest. Yep, I support it as well, Jerry.
Who wants to move that we approve this, please? Corinne,
I
you
will
spoke.
move.
I'll move it.
Jerry moves it. Corinne second it. Everybody okay with that? Any
Perfect.
objections? Committee members?
Oh,
Seeing none.
I agree.
Eric?
I agree.
Thank you, Eric. Sorry. Seeing none, then this application is approved, subject to the conditions outlined by the Director of Planning as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So that's thank you everybody for that motion, declaration, result of vote. We've done all of this. Okay, everybody, thank you. Sometimes this is probably one of the most complicated ones that I've seen in all the years that I've been on the Committee of Adjustment. But I do think the discussion was good, and I agree with everything, and I think that we're doing the right thing for the town of Mono and for the Bruce Trail Conservancy. So that's my closing comments on that. So Anton, thank you. Other guests in that, you're welcome to hang around. I have a couple more housekeeping things for the Committee of Adjustment members, but you're all welcome if you got nothing
Thank you.
So,
I will bid you adieu. Thank you very much. All right, bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Committee members, agenda item number 8. Other business. Before I get into a couple of things, committee members, does anybody else have any other business?
No.
Seeing none. First thing, I just wanted to quickly say thank you to Eric working with Simi. The new format for the minutes, I think is much better. Is everybody in agreement with that? And thank you to Dave Carbert, who had made the suggestion about putting in the movers and seconders for that. I think it's a good information that benefits everybody to see that there. Committee members, any other comments on this? We're all happy with what we're doing now with the minutes?
Very happy.
Wonderful. Thank you. Moving right along. Next meeting, Thursday, February 22nd, which is the fourth Thursday in February. We are expecting, Dave Trotman, we're expecting at least one application right now as it stands.
One, separation of title, two lots that have merged. So we're still trying to wait. We're still waiting for information from the applicant on a planning justification report and a survey, PIN registry. They're a law firm acting on behalf of the applicant, so we should be able to get all of that. So that's my hope in time for the meeting on the 22nd.
Tomorrow morning, thank you, David. Tomorrow morning, I will send out my usual email about the February 22nd meeting. I will attach to it the link to this is on active planning application. Sorry, I don't have the number here. I will attach that to it so that you can take a look at it. It's at the Volkswagen dealership on Highway 10. Isn't it the property just or the parcel just south of the main Volkswagen dealership? Anyhow, I'll send that to everybody, and subject to the applicant getting everything in time, we will have that meeting. I don't see a reason to have that as an in-person meeting, but I'll send it to you, and if anybody disagrees with that, let me know. Okay. Committee members, I got to apologize. Constantly learning here. I did not notice on the agenda that we got that the description of the first application here was wrong, and I apologize for that. Live and learn. Next time we have more than one application, this chairman will look at that more closely. So I apologize for that. I think you all know why I stopped it and read the real one. Eric, you know this better than any of the rest of us as a lawyer. Did I do the right thing?
Well, there is lawyers are very concerned about what they call protecting the record. And, arguably nobody pays much attention to our record, but if it ever came to it, you want to have your record be complete.
So it was the right thing to do.
Yep.
Thank you. I've learned so much. Eric is I think in my memory the first lawyer we've ever had on the Committee of Adjustment, and he's made some spectacular suggestions, and it's just improved the way we do things. So Eric, thank you for that. Which brings me to the next one, to thank all of you. This is a longer meeting than I expected. We got into a lot of things. I think we did the right thing by it. Bruce Trail Conservancy have some work to do there, and as Anton said to us up front, they're not in the business of selling houses and the like. So no doubt they learned from this too, and I think we did too, and I think we've done the right thing here. David Trotman, anything else for you to say?
No, I believe just for BO3 though, you did approve with the lot size as requested, which is fine. That's committee's prerogative. Beyond that, we're expecting an application for the February meeting. Once we get the rest of the information in, if we get it in, and really that's all I have to say. I think your deliberation on the conditions was very fulsome, and I think we've come full circle. They seem to fit. So Public Works are reasonable folks. They're there to assist and facilitate. I hope the conditions support that direction. So I think they do. So I guess for parkland dedication, it will be up to Bruce Trail. If they can demonstrate it doesn't apply, then they can circle back to council and get remedy there.
Yeah, with that, you did talk about Mulmer. Maybe you can, and Anton thankfully updated us on that. maybe you can get the final decision there, David Trotman, about that so that you can show that to council.
Yeah,
When they're
I didn't hear the bit about reimbursement of the fee, so I assumed it was paid and that was that. So
she
I'll
said that.
follow up with, she did, which is fine. I'll follow up with the CEO just to confirm whether or not that actually transpired. As opposed to
Okay,
we sought it from council and didn't get it. I'm not
okay.
suggesting that's the
Just
case. I just
David,
need that
please just
clarification.
yeah, David, do your homework so that you can tell council what happened there, and that, and then it will be between Bruce Trail and the town of Mono, and that. So please do that. Last but not least, Simi, your second meeting with us, and that, Simi, you're learning a lot quickly. I'll remind everybody, Simi and I were on earlier before everybody, and she reminded me, this is her first winter. You moved from New Delhi, correct, Simi?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So welcome to Canadian winters, and that Simi and her family have moved from Brampton to Orangeville. That's nobody's business. I'm sorry. I hope I haven't disclosed something personal, but she's a local resident, Simi, from New Delhi to Orangeville. Uh, Culture shock, maybe. I don't know. Anyhow, Simi, thank you. You're learning a lot very quickly and doing a good job, and we'll continue to work together with you. Committee members, I can ramble, as you know, so I'm going to stop there. Anything else, committee members, other than somebody moving to adjourn the meeting?
I will so move.
Jerry's forehead so moved that.
I'll
and,
second.
and seconded by Dave Carbert, and seeing no objections, everybody, thank you. Thank you for everything, committee members.
Right.
Job
Good
well
night,
done.
everyone.
As always,
Good
job
night.
well done. Thank you. Simi, you can close the
Have a great
meeting.
night.
Thank
Have
you.
a good one. Thank you.